Hola a todos, or should I say hola a totum. In this video, we'll be comparing Spanish versus Catalan. Now these are two languages, or two dialects, or one language and a dialect of that language, because Catalan is just a dialect of Spanish, right? Wrong. This is me with questionable fashion sense last week in the sunny city of Barcelona, a place with much better weather than London right now. Now one night, after a few drinks in Barcelona's centre, I hopped in the taxi and asked the taxi driver to take me back to my hotel. Hola, ¿me llevas a la Plaza de España, por favor? Now what happened next was really interesting because he responded to me in English instead of Spanish. Now maybe he just wanted to practice his English with me, maybe he couldn't be bothered to reply to me in Spanish in case I tried to start a conversation and practice, but whatever it was, it got me thinking, is there a chance this man would rather speak to me in English than in Spanish because his native language is Catalan? Because after all, Spanish is not the same language as Catalan. Now in case you're not familiar with the difference between these two languages, just listen to these two clips.
Electoral apuntábamos a repetición de elecciones o al intento de Pedro Sánchez de volver a gobernar con los mismos, esta vez con el concurso de Junts.
Más complicado
esta
todavía,
vez más complicado, porque Junts, claro, hemos pasado en el Congreso la última legislatura, hemos visto pleno tras pleno, Junts no votaba nada. O sea, Junts no ha votado nada. Junts entró en una suerte de inhibición de todo.
A una al Baix Llobregat i a l'Hospitalet. El Miquel Jarque és ara mateix a la sala de control, des d'on allà es llançarà l'alarma. De seguida hi anirem. I de Granollers també serem, en aquest cas, al Mercat de Granollers, per veure quina és la reacció. I a Mataró començaran també a sonar aquests telèfons mòbils d'aquí a pocs minuts. Marta Vallès, tot a punt?
Hola, bon dia. Doncs sí, estem aquí al centre de Mataró, som a la Rambla, amb la plaça de Santana, i les terrasses dels cafès aquí estan plens de gent, per això és com cada matí i també com cada dia.
As you can probably hear from those clips, Spanish and Catalan are completely different languages. And if you take anything from this video today, then please remember that. But it is a really common misconception that Catalan is just a dialect of Spanish, and it's just simply not the case. Just look at these questions. So we've established that Spanish and Catalan are distinct languages, but both are official languages of Spain. And both languages are similar, owing to their Romance language roots. But as I'll show you in this video, Spanish and Catalan have unique vocabularies, expressions, and even grammar rules. So in this video today, I'm going to cover the origins of Spanish and Catalan, the main linguistic features of both languages, and the cultural context of each language and where they're spoken today. Let's kick things off with Spanish.
Run.
But if you want to get straight into the linguistic analysis, you can skip to the relevant section. I've put the chapters below this video. So, Spanish, or as it's known in its homeland, Castellano. Spanish is a Romance language that has evolved primarily from Latin. It's one of the most widely spoken languages in the world, and it originates from northern and central Spain. The Spanish language was significantly influenced by Arabic and Moorish invasions around the 8th century, which is why you'll find many Spanish words with al borrowing from Arabic. Look at these examples. Almohada, almendra, alcalde, almacén. As highlighted recently by a viewer on my YouTube channel, Lingua Focus, not all words starting with al in Spanish are from Arabic. Words such as alto or alta derive from Latin, so thank you, viewer, for reminding me of that. But most do come from Arabic. Now, according to the Cervantes Institute, Spanish boasts a total of just under 600 million speakers worldwide. So over 7% of the global population are speakers of the Spanish language. That's a lot of people. In fact, the only language with more native speakers worldwide is Mandarin. So there are actually more Spanish speakers worldwide than there are native English speakers. Now, just like Spanish, Catalan also has roots in Vulgar Latin. It developed in the Pyrenees Mountains between France and Spain. Catalan diverged from other Romance languages in the 9th century, so its roots are almost as old as Castilian Spanish. Catalan is spoken primarily in the autonomous regions of Catalonia, Valencia, and the Balearic Islands. Outside of Spain, Catalan is also spoken in Andorra, where it's an official language.
Huh?
Andorra, look it up. Certain regions in France also have Catalan speakers, although it's not considered an official language there. All in all, we've got around 9.5 million speakers of Catalan, with another 1.5 million having a comprehension of the language. Again, that's a lot of speakers. Now, many places in Spain and Catalonia, where you'll find Barcelona, the Valencia region, and the Balearic Islands have Catalan as their official language, although they also have significant Spanish-speaking communities there. As a result, both languages have coexisted. So when you go to these places you can get by in Spanish or Catalan pretty easily, unless you get into a taxi with me in Barcelona and find yourself with a Catalan speaker who doesn't want to speak Spanish with you.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
But what about the linguistic similarities and differences between Spanish and Catalan? As I've said, both languages belong to the Romance language family, which means they have plenty of similarities, but they're also unique in their own right. Let's start with some basic grammar points. Grammatical gender is consistent across both languages, and words are categorized as either masculine or feminine in both language. If you're learning Spanish already, you know all about masculine and feminine. Not that kind of masculine and feminine. The conjugation of verbs also largely mirrors each other, following patterns and using similar verb endings in the infinitive form. These are AR, ER, and IR for Spanish, and AR, RE, and ER for Catalan. But Spanish is definitely more phonetic than Catalan, which means it's a lot easier for foreign learners like me to learn, and to pronounce words as they're written. Look at this example. Mañana por la mañana voy a la playa con mi novia. Demà al matí vaig la playa amb la meva xicota. I've probably absolutely butchered that Catalan pronunciation, so Catalan speakers, I'm sorry. In English, that's tomorrow morning, I'm going to the beach with my girlfriend. But you see the differences, right? Spanish is much more phonetic, and every letter in that Spanish sentence has been pronounced. By the way, if you're already learning Spanish and you've hit that classic language barrier where things are just starting to get very tricky, you're starting to lose a bit of motivation, you haven't got to the point that you thought you'd have got to by this stage, then check out an awesome Spanish course that I've put below this video. I've teamed up with the course creators to get anyone that views my videos 7 days of free access. So click that link, get 7 days for free, take the course, and let me know what you think. Now back to the video. So pronunciation in Spanish is pretty easy, but in Catalan, pronunciation depends more on liaisons between words, and this is a feature that's also really common in French. For example, in the phrase "els agrada," meaning they like it, the S and the following vowel connect, creating a Z sound, els agrada. There are unique clips in Spanish too, like the trilled R and the ñ sound in words like niña or España. Catalan also has the same pronunciation for the ñ sound, but with the letters NY. That's why you'll see Catalunya written with the NY for Catalonia, and Catalunya with the ñ. So if you see a word when you're in Catalonia and you're trying to work out whether or not it's Spanish or Catalan, a clue to look for is often the placement of consonants within that word. For example, in Spanish, vowels are placed between consonants, whilst this is not always the case in Catalan. You're also much more likely to see a greater variety of consonant combinations in Catalan, as well as consonant clusters. Not those kind of clusters. And finally, many words in Catalan use the X, which is pronounced like a sh in Spanish. Just look at these examples. Chocolate, chocolata. Also, if you go to Spain, you're almost definitely going to want to try a drink called horchata. In Spanish, it's written like horchata, but in Catalan, you'll see it written as horchata, without the silent H and with an X. Now you're probably watching this losing interest at this point, thinking, where's all the sexy stuff? Well, don't worry, because we're about to look at verbs in both languages and how they differ in the infinitive and conjugated forms.
I give it to you. You got me there. Right.
So let's look at the verb to speak. In Spanish, it's hablar, while in Catalan, it's parlar. This is much more like parler in French. For the verb to like, in Spanish, it's gustar, while in Catalan, it's agradar. And for the verb to eat, we've got comer in Spanish, while in Catalan, it's menjar. Again, this is much more like the French manger. Now, in the conjugated form, both Spanish and Catalan verbs are pretty similar, generally. Let's look at the present tense conjugations of hablar and parlar to see this. I'll list them with their personal pronouns too. If you want to learn these, again, just check out the Spanish course in the description below. Now, in Spanish, we've got yo hablo, tú hablas, él, ella, usted habla, nosotros hablamos, vosotros habláis, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablan. Then in Catalan we've got yo parlo, tú parles, él, ella, vostè parla, nosaltres parlem, vosaltres parleu, ells, ellas, vostès parlen. Again, Catalan speakers, I'm so sorry if I've just butchered your language. I don't speak Catalan, but I am doing my best with these pronunciations. This is just a present tense example, but as you can see, conjugations in both languages are really similar. And this is a common feature amongst all Romance languages. But while the pattern of conjugation is similar, Spanish and Catalan verbs in the infinitive form are by no means identical. As well as this, tense usage differs between both languages. For example, the Spanish simple past isn't used in spoken Catalan, and speakers prefer the periphrastic past, try and say that after a few cervezas, where the simple past is more literary. Here's another example. Take the sentence, yesterday I made a cake with apples and blackberries. In Spanish, ayer cociné un pastel de manzana y moras. And in Catalan, I'm not even going to try this time. Spanish uses the simple past tense or the preterite, while Catalan uses the periphrastic. By the way, if you're watching this and you speak Catalan, I would really like to hear your thoughts on whether or not this is always the case or only sometimes. How do you use the past tense? Do you switch in your day-to-day when you switch between Catalan and Spanish? Do you get tenses modelled up? Is it just natural? Which tenses do you use? I'd love to know. What about common nouns? Well, there are many vocabulary differences too. Let's look at the word for bird. In Spanish, it's pájaro, and in Catalan, ocell, silla in Spanish for chair, cadira in Catalan, and city, ciudad in Spanish, and ciutat in Catalan. Now listen to how different these languages sound when using all three of these words in context. And no, you will never need to use this sentence. El meu ocell está a la cadira a la ciutat. Mi pájaro está en la silla en la ciudad. While written, they're pretty similar, but spoken, you can definitely hear the difference. And finally, common greetings in Spanish and Catalan are pretty similar too. How are you? That's como estás in Spanish, which becomes como estás in Catalan. Good morning, buenos días in Spanish and bon día in Catalan. Thank you, gracias in Spanish and gracias in Catalan. Although when I've been in Catalonia, I've used merci. Is that wrong? And I love you in Spanish, te amo mucho or te quiero mucho in Catalan becomes te estimo molt. Interestingly, please in Spanish, por favor, sounds more similar to French when spoken in Catalan. Si us plau sounds much more like s'il vous plaît. So, Spanish and Catalan might share a peninsular and a broader language family, but as you can see, they are distinct in vocabulary, pronunciation, and many other linguistic features. But a question people often ask is, are the Catalan and Spanish languages mutually intelligible? In other words, if you're Spanish, can you understand Catalan automatically, and vice versa? Well, for a native Spanish speaker who's never been exposed to Catalan, understanding spoken Catalan would be pretty challenging. And similarly, a native Catalan may not fully understand spoken Spanish without some exposure or study, although the overwhelming majority of Catalans are bilingual in Catalan and Spanish due to the political and cultural context, and the fact that Catalonia is, of course, still part of Spain. In fact, a 2021 survey by Statista demonstrated that 50% of the population of Catalonia regarded Spanish as their mother tongue, that's Castellano, while a lower 37% regarded Catalan as their first language. Written Catalan and Spanish may be easier to understand, but again, there are enough differences to cause misunderstandings or a lack of comprehension. So understanding between the two is generally not seamless without some level of exposure or study. Another question that you're likely to hear is, are the Catalan and French languages mutually intelligible? Now this is where it gets really interesting. Approximately 80% of Catalan vocabulary, 80%, is believed to overlap with French, which results in numerous similar words like mercés in Catalan and merci in French, meaning thank you, or tot bé in Catalan and tout bien in French, meaning all good. Generally, these similarities will allow French and Catalan speakers to recognize a few words in the other language, but complete understanding is generally not possible without study of that language. Just because you speak Catalan, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to speak French and vice versa. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about culture in Catalonia and the differences between this region in Spain and other parts of Spain, check out a movie called Ocho Apellidos Catalanes. So, as you now know, Spanish and Catalan are two separate languages, don't forget that, but they are both similar in many aspects, as well as very different in others. By creating this video, and since that interaction with the Catalan taxi driver, I wanted to give you an overview of the Spanish and Catalan languages, as well as the history and similarities of both. I hope I've done that. If you feel I've done that, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel, it means a lot. Let me know in the comments what you think about Spanish and Catalan. If I've missed anything, please keep it friendly. If I've made mistakes, I apologize. Please let me know below. If you're learning Spanish right now, don't forget to check out the course below this video. The link is going to get you 7 days of free access. Thank you very much for watching. Muchas gracias por ver este video. Muchas gracias, and I will see you next time.